Hi, my name's Ryan Billia. I'm a supervising sound editor and re-recording mixer and the owner of Rumble Audio in Brooklyn, New York. I've worked with pro sound effects for years and years, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about the hybrid library, specifically my experience with it, as well as some new features, some new sounds, updated metadata, a whole bunch of really, really cool stuff. Yeah, so we'll dive right in. First thing I'm going to do is show you how the drive will arrive. It comes in a nice padded white box here, nice secure foam, and arrives on a beautiful drive, USB 3. Has everything you need included. It's got the cable and all that. Basically, it's plug and play. You can just attach it to your computer, load up SoundMiner or any of the other libraries that you use, and off and running pretty quick. Okay, so here we are looking at the Pro Sound Effects PSE hybrid library in Finder. If you just kind of go in there, you can see that it's really well organized in subfolders. Each subfolder is a category. So even if you're not using something like SoundMiner or Basshead or anything like that, you can fairly easily move through this searching based on category, and then kind of go through and find a lot of information pretty easily just in Finder. There's a lot of information simply just in the file names. But their real strength obviously is the extremely detailed metadata that they've got in there, with lots of search terms starting from as wide as ambience and wind, and getting down into nitty gritty, which makes searching a lot easier to do. As you can see, there's about 65,000 sounds. So with that alone, with this library alone, you've got the tools to take on basically any project that comes your way. It covers ambiences from kind of all over the world, great hard effect sounds, door slams, car doors, car buys, plane buys, things like that, and also really great Foley elements, footsteps, and cloth grabs, and keys, and just numerous things that are in there, as well as a lot of design elements, from things like whooshes to drones to interface button sounds, computer sounds, so on and so forth. Really, there's a lot to work with in this library alone. I think the number's around 300 categories. That's a lot of subcategories. So with all that, this is really a all-encompassing effects library that covers really anyone's needs. Some of my favorite things to work on are ambiences. I love building ambiences, and with these, we can kind of build some really beautiful and complex backgrounds. Right off the bat, if we just do a search for, let's just go right into ambience here, and there's 1,500 ambiences, kind of covering everything from birds and interiors and gun battles, jungles, city ambiences, construction zones, things like that. The first thing you'll notice with a lot of these sounds is how well edited they are. Very often ambiences are recordings of extended periods of time, and you may have a lot of dead space, things like that they've gone through and edited them together in a way that they're interesting and complex. It's not just something that it's not really a monotonous sort of droning sound. There's a lot of things to kind of pop out and populate the space. So let's see, what can we find here? Let's do some birds. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh yeah, and also I should mention too that you can see there's a number of 5.1 recordings as well as stereo and mono, so which is really, really great. And the 5.1 recordings are awesome. And as I said, you can tell that they've taken the time to piece together choice elements, but they're also not filling it in to the point that it's overpopulated as well. They're allowing some breathing space in here. A lot of great, background ambient stuff, kind of got working with here. There's suburban sounds, there's urban sounds, jungle sounds, exotic sounds, as well as, local sounds, city sounds and rural town sounds. So really a lot of things to kind of work with to kind of help populate the whatever world that you're sound editing. Most importantly, with some of these exotic sounds and things like that, these are also sounds that most freelancers don't have the ability to go out and record themselves. Not even an exotic sound. Sometimes you just need some great city recordings and you might not be able to go out there and get those recordings that you need to get. So, there's just a lot to work with here. In terms of their sort of more Foley individual sounds, let's see, what do we got for Foley? Oh yeah, we've got 7,300. So if you don't have the ability to go to a Foley studio or you're not your own Foley studio, you've got plenty to work with here to cover footsteps and cloth grabs and things like that. Some of their best stuff really is their design. So if we just kind of check out some of their design elements and then maybe try, some of their darker tones here. They've got some really cool. A lot of these sounds are good out of the box, so to speak. You could drop any one of these in to a sequence and, either as a starting point or as your final sound. Really, it makes the sort of convenience of not having to build all these design elements on your own. They're all just kind of right here. It makes it really quick and easy. I use a lot of these sounds as the basis for things. So not only were a bunch of new sounds included, but they also kind of did a full makeover on the metadata, so to help increase speed, number of search results, things like that. And a lot of that was driven by user feedback. So they really do listen to sound editors out there working about what can help them. The hybrid library was one of the first. Actually, it was the first large library that I purchased when I built the studio. And, the first couple films I did were almost exclusively done with it. There's really just a lot of great sounds that kind of runs the gamut of everything that we could possibly need. I've put this little sequence together using all sounds from the hybrid library. So I'm just going to play it for you real quick. Here we go. And so there you go. Just a Quick, simple little sequence. I'll just show you the sort of search terms that I used to get here. So, you know, the first thing I looked for was, you know, light wind. And here's that sort of little wind sequence with the rattling. I did night. Oh yeah, here we are. Night ambience, nice, sort of simple, not over the top insect field bed. Some thunder. You know, and there's a lot of different thunder sounds. I kind of wanted some for this, not with a lot of rain. And so down here you've got a little bit of rain in there, but not as much as some of these upper ones here. But it's really good because you can't, you know, thunder is a tough one. You want to have lots of different thunder types for a sequence. Otherwise it sounds a little repetitive to just kind of hear the same one over and over again. You know, and then I did foot, road, and there's some nice sort of sequences. I used this boot sequence. You know, we could have used sneakers. Here's a little more gravel. You know, obviously if you're cutting to picture, having them already broken out into individual steps is super helpful. And then, you know, sort of at the end there, I added a couple carbis, you know, and I just wanted to see what sort of human sounds they had. And there's this kind of funny, great little... which when I dropped it in, I felt like it just kind of lined up pretty well. So there you go. Putting that together took me probably about 5 minutes. Great, thank you so much for listening. I really encourage you to go out and check out Pro Sound Effects in the Hybrid Library. I've no doubt you will find as many helpful, cool, and interesting sounds as I did. Thanks again. Good luck.